Welcome to Towards Eternity's cross-examination concept. We know you came first in the Sirah contest. There are some hadiths that people think are contradictory. That's what we're going to ask you about. While drinking blood is forbidden in Islam, there's an incident where our Prophet's blood was drunk. How is this acceptable? It's a contradiction, right? While one hadith forbids visiting graveyards, another allows it. Isn't that contradiction? Our Prophet, peace be upon him, talked about camel urine and recommended drinking it. Why did he recommend it? Isn't that a contradiction? I'm going to ask you a difficult question. If you notice that a hadith contradicts the Qur'an, what are you going to do then? First of all, why do we need hadiths if we already have the Holy Qur'an? The hadiths are needed to prevent confusion, because if we do not refer to hadiths as a first source to understand the Qur'an, the foundation of my understanding is lost. What I understand from a verse can be different to someone else's understanding of the same verse. Since this will vary from person to person, the first source we must refer to understand the Qur'an after the Qur'an itself is the hadith. Also, without the hadiths, we cannot understand the details of many commands in the Qur'an, such as prayers, zakat, pilgrimage, etc. There's no other way to understand their details. Those who do not accept hadiths still argue whether salah is 3 or 5 times a day, but those who believe in hadiths, those who accept hadiths as a second source after the Holy Qur'an, have no dispute about this whatsoever. Everybody accepts that the prayer is obligatory 5 times a day, or the fard of Salat al-Dhuhr is 4 rakat, or understands what the ratio of zakat on one's possessions is. But people who say I only accept the Qur'an think entirely different about this. In short, if we accept Qur'an as the only source, then consensus is not achieved even in the most basic things like the 5 daily prayers. Therefore, we need hadiths. Those who accept hadiths and practice according to them have consensus, while those who don't start to deviate. They say that hadiths are in conflict with each other. Is that correct? In fact, we've prepared a few and we'll be asking you about them in a minute. If the hadiths we are talking about are sahih and mutawatir, there can be no contradiction between them. Because in usul al-hadith, the maqam, place, time, condition, and addressee of a hadith can change. For example, in one of the hadiths, our Prophet, peace be upon him, says the best deed is the prayer performed at its appointed time, while in another, he, peace be upon him, says being kind to parents is the best deed. Yet in another hadith, he states that the best deeds are those done regularly, even if they are few. Such hadiths may seem textually contradictory, but essentially we have no contradiction in their texts at all. Such seemingly contradictory hadiths are called mushkil al-hadith. This means 2 maqbul hadiths, 2 accepted sahih hadiths that appear to be contradictory. Let's evaluate the hadith examples I gave. Which do you think is the best deed? I'll tell you, they're all the best. How? Here's the thing. If a person has a problem with praying on time, the best deed for him is to perform the prayer on time. We should perform prayer at its appointed time anyway, but it is the best deed for the one who has a weakness in this regard. In the other example, if a person is rebellious to their parents, the best deed for that person is to behave kindly towards his parents. Or if someone has a disorganized life, if he can't put his deeds in order, the best deed for him is the one he consistently does, albeit a little. So the best deed can change from person to person. In short, all of them are best deeds. Is that why the Prophet, peace be upon him, said those hadiths? Here the addressee is different. We understand this from the hadith. The addressee varies. A companion comes and asks, he, peace be upon him, says, the prayer that is performed on time. Another companion asks the same question, what is the best deed? He, peace be upon him, says, behaving kindly towards your parents. Hadith scholars state that it changes according to the addressee, because how can there be 3 best deeds? It can change from person to person. What's best for me can be what's better for you, and what's best for someone else can be better for me. This is how scholars of Islam explain this. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. If you notice that a hadith contradicts the Qur'an, what are you going to do then? If the hadiths we are talking about are again sahih and mutawatir, they don't contradict the Holy Qur'an. For a hadith to be accepted as sahih, it must meet 5 conditions. Those 5 conditions are that its isnad is mutassil, it is not shad or mu'allal, its rawi is fair and has control. What are these supposed to mean? Can you explain a little? For example, if we are to explain one of them, it is for rawi who narrated the hadith to be fair. The attribute fair is for the person to have taqwa, someone who is not considered bad by anyone, someone who didn't even say a white lie in his entire life. These are the attributes that show that a rawi, the narrator of the hadith, is fair. Apart from this, it is not enough for him to be fair, he has to have control. What does control mean here? It means that he has a retentive memory, which means this person doesn't backtrack on his words, saying, oh, it wasn't like this, it was like that. To explain shad, it is a hadith reported by a trustworthy person who contradicts the narration of a person more reliable than he is. Sometimes it is not enough to be just a trustworthy ravi. If there is a more trustworthy Ravi available, then this hadith may not be accepted as Sahih. In short, only a hadith that meets stringent conditions is accepted as Sahih. If a hadith really contradicts the Qur'an, then Islamic scholars don't accept it as Sahih Hadith. Moreover, if you think that a Sahih Hadith contradicts the Holy Qur'an, this could be your misunderstanding. For instance, it is said in a verse, "No one bears the sins of another." In a hadith, it is said, "Do not weep at your loved one's grave, for your weeping adds to the punishment of the dead in the grave." When we consider this verse, it is mentioned that no one will bear another sin. In the hadith, because of one's weeping, it is stated that the punishment of the one in the grave will increase. If we compare it with the verse, it begs the question, how does one person's action increase the torment of the dead? However, when Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, was asked about this hadith, she said that this hadith was about the infidels. During the period of Jahiliyyah, the infidels bequeathed to be wept after them. They're the ones who wanted to be wept after them. They wrote this in their will. Secondly, in Islam, after a person has died, they can still hear in their graves. So if their relatives weep, it saddens them in the grave. It is not because their family weeps and their torment increases. In short, we can misunderstand a verse and a hadith. But when we get to the bottom of the issue or look at the explanations, we can see that there are no contradictions. Okay, then I want the answer for this. Our Prophet, peace be upon him, talked about camel urine and recommended drinking it. How can urine be recommended when it is one of the things accepted as najasa for wudu and nullifies it? Isn't this a very contradictory matter? If it were like you said, it would be a contradiction. But to understand the matter in this way or to convey it in this way, it is either an indication that you are acting on hearsay or that you have an ulterior motive, because our Prophet, peace be upon him, neither said this about a normal case, nor did he recommend drinking camel urine. Let's read the hadith straight from the text. Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, narrates, "A group of 8 people from Uqi and Uran tribes came to Medina, paid homage to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and became Muslims. After a while, the weather of Medina made them all sick. Upon their complaints, Prophet, peace be upon him, recommended them to go out of Medina and drink from the milk and urine of the camels." You have to pay attention here. The men drank the milk and urine of the camels for a while and recovered their health. I don't even have to say anything more now, because even when we examine the text, we understand this is not the case. What is it? 1. Our Prophet, peace be upon him, didn't recommend this for everybody. It was for a specific health-related incident. 2. It was not only urine, it was milk and urine, so there was a mixture that was going to be a cure for the disease. 3. The treatment worked. They drank the milk and urine for some time and got rid of that disease. 4. Today, we know that animal urine is useful for internal health and skin diseases. Even Ibn Sina argued for it. He even mentioned that the most useful of these animal urines is that of camels grazing in the Arabian deserts, where the air is exquisite. In other words, the hadith is not a general recommendation. It was for a specific incident to treat a disease. While one hadith forbids visiting graveyards, another allows it. Isn't this a contradiction? At the same time, both of these hadiths are sahih according to the criteria you mentioned at the beginning of this video. I mean, how is that not a contradiction? If we handle the issue thoroughly, our Prophet, peace be upon him, initially prohibited that, since in the early years of Islam, people could not get rid of their habits from the period of Jahiliyyah. For example, there was inappropriate speech, unnecessary lamentation, bragging about previous dead relatives, non-Islamic behavior. For such reasons, our Prophet, peace be upon him, prohibited it at first, but then he said, "I had forbidden you to visit the graves, but you may visit them now because certainly they weaken your attachment to the world and remind you of the hereafter." He allowed for the visiting of graves. In another hadith, he, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever desires to visit the graves, visit but don't say a bad word." As we can understand from these hadiths, our Prophet, peace be upon him, at first prohibited the visiting of graves due to special circumstances of the continuation of Jahiliyyah habits during the early period of Islam. But then, when those brought by Islam replaced these habits, he, peace be upon him, allowed us to visit the graves again. We are back to what I said at the beginning. It can vary according to the maqam, time, place, and conditions of a hadith. If we pay attention to these, no Sahih Hadith contradicts, just like in this issue, and there is an explanation for it.
While drinking blood is prohibited in Islam, our Prophet, peace be upon him, has a hadith about drinking his blood. How is this acceptable? It's a contradiction, right?
When we look at the Holy Qur'an, we see that in the 3rd verse of Surah Al-Ma'idah and its interpretation, it is forbidden to drink blood in Islam. The drinking of blood happened twice. The first of these is in the Battle of Uhud, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, was wounded in his temple. The companions tried to remove the rings from his face, and his companion Malik ibn Sinan swallowed his blood. After that, our Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Hellfire shall not fall on those who have my blood on their blood." This blood drinking incident was an accident. It was unintentional. If you ask why did the Prophet, peace be upon him, say such a thing, we'll get to this issue later. Let's look at another incident. Abdullah ibn Zubair from the companions was 8 to 9 years old. The Prophet, peace be upon him, tasked him to take his cupping blood and bury it. Abdullah ibn Zubair preferred to drink the blood instead of burying it. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, came back and asked about it, Abdullah ibn Zubair answered indirectly, "I got rid of it." The Prophet, peace be upon him, suspected the situation and asked, "Perhaps you have drunk it?" He answered, "Yes." Now, when we look at this issue, we come up with a few conclusions. 1, it was a child who did this. I mean, even if drinking Prophet's, peace be upon him, blood is forbidden, it is a child who did it, so there was no liability. 2, our Prophet, peace be upon him, did not recommend drinking that blood. On the contrary, he, peace be upon him, assigned him to bury it. 3, since he knew that our Prophet, peace be upon him, would disapprove of this, Abdullah replied, "I got rid of it indirectly." In other words, he knew that our Prophet wouldn't approve. The last conclusion we can come up with is, in the beginning we said that our Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Hellfire shall not fall on those who have my blood in their blood." We understand that his word was held true as Abdullah ibn Zubair was martyred in the siege of Mecca. So this incident is an informal miracle. Our Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Hellfire shall not fall on those who have my blood in their blood." Abdullah ibn Zubair became a martyr in the siege of Mecca. According to Islamic belief, a martyr will not be touched by hellfire because they become the people of paradise. This hadith is not a chance of denial for us. On the contrary, this is an issue that increases our faith.
There are hadiths where our Prophet, peace be upon him, drank water, standing and sitting. Isn't that a contradiction?
Yes, in some hadiths of our Prophet, peace be upon him, he drank water standing, and in some of them he forbade drinking it standing and recommended drinking it while sitting down. But the discovery of 2 different narrations is not a contradiction. How? We can draw 3 conclusions from the states and actions of our Prophet, peace be upon him. First of these is sunnah muqaddah. In other words, states and actions that our Prophet, peace be upon him, regularly did. The second conclusion is sunnah ghair muqaddah. In other words, things that our Prophet, peace be upon him, did most of the time and abandoned sometimes, like not praying the sunnah of Salat al-Asr. The third one is what we call the permit. The permit is that our Prophet, peace be upon him, did things contrary to the things that he normally did in extraordinary situations. As we said, drinking water while standing, passing water while standing, or sometimes sleeping on his left side. These are issues that we need to understand as permits. If the Prophet, peace be upon him, did not drink water while standing, or if he never slept on his left side all his life, the people, the ummah, might have thought that these were forbidden. Because of this, our Prophet, peace be upon him, sometimes acted against his normal actions due to extraordinary situations. There is no contradiction in that. The things our Prophet did all the time are called sunnah. What he rarely did is called a permit.
We know a lot about protecting animals in Islam. However, we know a hadith about killing the dogs. What kind of contradiction is this? Do you have an answer for this?
First, that hadith is not about the dogs wandering around and staying away from people. The expression used by the Prophet, peace be upon him, is fasik animal. There are 5 animals mentioned: scorpion, mouse, predator dogs, kite, and crow. The reason they are called fasik is that they are predatory. They are different from other animals. Apart from this, the vast majority of scholars say that the expression of predatory dogs applies to all predatory animals like lions and tigers, etc. This doesn't mean kill all the predators you see wherever you find them. The Islamic scholars also said if these animals do not attack you, it is not lawful for you to kill them if they do not harm you in the least. For example, all the vermin you find in your house, along with aggressive animals such as scorpions and mice, it is okay to kill them because it is in your house and it has the potential to harm you. But you're not allowed to find and kill them on their turf. It's that simple. But those who convey this hadith to us narrate it as if it tells us to kill dogs that don't harm anyone, anywhere. This is twisting religion. There is an ulterior motive.
So when we don't understand the hadith or when it doesn't sound plausible, what path should we take?
When we first look at some hadiths, we may be confused and misunderstand. In this regard, the path we follow should be the same as the path the verse allows. Just as when we look at any verse when it confuses us at first, we look for its explanation in a tafsir. This should be the path we take with the hadiths as well, because when you read a hadith, it may be that you don't understand it at first. The actual meaning of the hadith may not be what I understand to be its meaning. So, in short, when we encounter any hadith, there must be an explanation for it. If there is no explanation, what I initially understood might not be true. Even the words spoken by any of us today can have 2 or 3 different meanings. Why can't it be the case for hadiths? So, what we need to do is not to immediately deny a hadith, but to look up its explanation, and this is the right path to follow. Otherwise, when we deny the hadith, we won't be more knowledgeable in the religious field, or we won't understand the verses better. On the contrary, we will understand the verse according to our own desires and will do something wrong. Apart from this, the hadiths you come across every day, I assure you, Islamic scholars have already explained and narrated them in their works. So when you encounter a hadith, do not deny it if you do not understand it.
Thank you for answering our questions. That's it for now.
Every question, every issue you encounter has an answer, as long as you sincerely seek an answer and do not deny it.
3, 2, 1, action. Welcome to cross-examination. You have 60 seconds for each question.
Really? Let go of the 60 seconds, for God's sake.
I'm going to do something else. Yes. Towards eternity. Welcome to the competition. It's not like that, is it? It's too complicated. It's too messed up. Welcome to the Towards Eternity Sirah competition.
Hello brothers and sisters, and thank you for watching the video. If you want to take a look at more of our videos like this, you can check the playlists we created specifically for you on the right, or you can check out our latest videos on the left. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that we can reach and benefit more people. See you.